Okay, it is 6:30, so I will call the meeting to order. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Next is roll call. Mayor Kratzky, I am present. Groko. Present. Kufal.
Present.
Padilla.
Present.
Rose.
Present.
And Eker.
Here.
Any changes or additions to the agenda, other than there was a request to move the hiring of our Public Works Director under 11A to early on, so we'll do that after, or once we get to department and committee reports and action items. Any other changes?
No.
Additions? Okay, then I'll take a motion to approve tonight's agenda with the one change.
So moved.
Motion by Eker. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments, updates, and concerns? Do we have any citizens here to speak tonight about items that are not on the agenda? No? Any updates from council members? And any updates from city staff?
Quickly, a couple things. I mentioned this in my email, my weekly email. The county board is meeting in a work session next Tuesday to talk about the Lake Titlow Dam replacement project and the possibility of assessing some of the costs of that. At that meeting also, just to share, they're also going to be talking about their library assistance for 2027. Basically, those two items are going to start at 10:30 respectively, so 10:30 and 11 o'clock they're going to run. So 10:30 will be the Lake Titlow. So I'm just putting it out there if anybody would be interested in attending that. Justin Black and I are going to be attending on behalf of the city.
At the 25th, right?
25th, yes, Tuesday. And if somebody, it doesn't have, if it doesn't, you don't know right now, you can always reach out and let me know, but just wanted to let you know. Secondly, in reference to, we've started advertising for the deputy city clerk position. And I mentioned this in my email last Friday as well, looking at interviews on September 14th and 15th. So just wanted to know if there was anybody that would want to participate in those interviews and what date might work for them.
You can send an email.
Excuse me?
If you just send an email, someone can reply, checking their schedules.
We briefly talked about it in personnel. It sounds like Monday will work for Lynn. I can check my schedule unless anyone else wants to sit in on it. But yeah, we can coordinate it by email and figure out for sure who can be here.
Okay. That's all I had.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda if there's a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Eker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Kufal. Any questions or discussion about tonight's consent agenda?
I just have a question about a bill, Steve, for water tower cleaning. Was that just the inside of it?
No,
The what?
I mean, our agreement, I believe, covers everything as far as the tower is concerned.
Okay, so that's just something that's going to be getting done then.
It's our annual contract with, we have a contract for each of the towers where we used to have one for the east tower as well. I've actually changed that now. But it basically covers everything. But this would also include someday down the road if we were to paint the tower.
My question, though, it's going to be done yet this year. It hasn't been done yet. That's just our payment for the year.
Yeah, I think we've actually already had that done. They've cambered, I think I've seen pictures of the inside, and it looked, everything was good.
Okay. Well, the outsides are just dirty yet, that's why I was curious.
And maybe they got that to do yet, I'm not sure. But
That's all, I was just curious.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearings, we don't have anything on our schedule tonight. Under communication requests and petitions, we have information in our packet about the Gaylord powwow scheduled for Saturday and Sunday, September 12th and 13th. Moving on, we're going to jump to 11A under new business, and that is the hiring, or the Public Works hiring, the Public Works Director hiring recommendation. So I will turn that over to Steve.
Maybe Leighton, you want to, since you're one of the candidates, you want to step,
I'll recuse myself for this conversation.
thank you. Okay, as directed by the city council, we did advertise to replace Ty Reimers for our Public Works Director position. We interviewed, we being myself, Dawn and Lynn, interviewed 4 candidates for the position. We actually only had 4 applications, and we interviewed all 4 candidates. And the committee is recommending the hiring of Leighton Rose for the position. And there's an agreement in your packet. In light of that Leighton's on the city council, asked Mark to take a look at that as from a city charter standpoint. Also, Leighton's father is one of our employees in that same department, so he's going to address that as well. And then also, he included some information about the process, if the council would move ahead and hire him with the replacement of a council member, what options would be available for that. So a copy of his memo is in your packet, or letter here, and I guess I'd like to ask Mark to review that for your information and questions if there might be any.
Sure, thank you, Steve. So what my memo addresses is what I suppose is standing in the way of council voting yes on this, or perhaps reasons to vote no. I mean, that the decision to make this hire is still firmly in the city council's hands. There is a charter provision that does seem to address perhaps similar circumstances to what we're experiencing here, but it doesn't necessarily forbid this out of hand. And it basically comes down to whether or not the council member at issue, whether they created the position or they're part of the council that created the issue or the position, and if there are any specific raises given to that position. And based upon what's in the memo, my understanding is that during Leighton's time on the council, that position wasn't specifically created, and the compensation for that wasn't specifically increased during his time on the council. So there is room within the city's charter, however small, for this vote to happen tonight. Now, this is not something that is without complexity, given what Steve said, that potentially he would be, his father would be reporting to him, which is sort of a tricky thing. The city doesn't have a policy that prevents the hiring. Basically, the city could have a policy that says you can't report to a family member as a direct superior. That would be the case here, and it certainly would probably be something that we would want to look at if there's a way to change around the chain of command. I'm not sure it would be super easy, but certainly on the basis of his dad working for him now, that probably isn't a barrier to this vote moving forward this evening. I would encourage the council to look at this. So I'll preface this by saying that just because the charter, just because the nepotism component does not prevent a vote or make a vote unlawful, it doesn't mean it's irrelevant to the conversation. It doesn't mean it's irrelevant to the calculus that the council members have to go through to vote yes or no on this. So it's not that you're directed to disregard it, but it's not preventing, it's not making this appointment, this vote unlawful. So I suppose that there's a couple different decisions or a couple different things that need to happen here depending upon how the discussion goes. So now would probably be the time for me to turn that over to council with either questions for me or discussion about the topic. So.
Well, I do know that there was a few meetings that Leighton was on where we approved raises in January 6, 25 for the COLA, January 5th, 26 for COLA, and May 6, 26 was the vacation increase for all tiers, which includes all exempt and non-exempt employees. And to me, that means it got a raise, the position. Because the wages increased and the benefits increased in the last 2 years. And I'm just going black and white with the charter. No gray area.
Okay. I guess looking at this, I would probably have a different interpretation of that, but certainly you can use that opinion. My understanding is you were involved with this charter amendment when it was created. And so if you feel like as part of the discussion, you want to communicate like, well, this is what was intended, this is situation.
This is what it wasn't intended.
That's relevant information for everybody to have, certainly.
And actually, if you looked what's published online on American Legal that actually publishes our charter, it specifically says any salary, wages, or benefits, which the annulment means, or whatever, you gotta use complicated words apparently, but I have it. And I know that we've had issues with like ordinances that were published on there, and I'm not sure what we did with that, because my mind isn't remembering everything, but.
I guess my concern too would be the nepotism. I mean, most organizations have something in place for that, especially when it's a supervisory relationship. Places allow family members to work at the same company, but they're usually not directly in charge of anybody. I know at the state, we cannot work for father, brother, anything like that. If there's a lieutenant, captain in a district, an individual trooper cannot work under that person. And there's probably a good reason for that.
Kind of feeding off of that line, I would also say that if Leighton was to be hired, that in the past, before we had the Public Works Director position, we had the street department manager, the Parks and Recs manager, and the water manager reporting directly to you, the city administrator, and I would have to see something similar to that in the language, because I think that it's extremely difficult to supervise a family member, but let alone a father. So I would preface that if the position moves forward, that's something that would have to be included for supervisory role over Justin. The other thing that I have issue with is I think there's a spirit of the law and then the letter of the law, and I think that the spirit of the law with the charter is intended for this not to happen. I think that, yes, you can find a loophole to crawl through to make it possible, but I don't necessarily know that was the intent when this was looked at the charter. And then my final piece is perception from the view of the residents of our city. When we have somebody that is working on our council and then they get hired for a directorate level position, it almost seems like we're doing something that is, kind of not right. And so I think that people will have that perception. I know in the past, when we had a city administrator position and one of the council members wanted to apply for it, he resigned his position before. Now, Leighton didn't have time because it happened so fast, but that's kind of how it was handled in the past. So those are my concerns with the hire of Councilmember Rose.
Yeah, perception is reality. And here from American Legal Publishing, which has our ordinances and our charter, Section 8, incompatible office. No elected official currently serving in the capacity shall be employed by the city. No elected official for the period of 1 year after his or her term expires may be employed by the city if that official was in office when the position was created or the salary or benefits of that position were increased. And both in the salary and the benefits were increased in these last 2 years.
So I guess my reading of the charter is that those COLA increases you referenced, and those are citywide. Those are not specific to this position, which when you look at how the charter section is drafted, it's viewed through the lens of this specific position. Did that council that this council member sat on, did they create the position or specifically increase the benefits for that position? And in this case, the COLA was standard percentage across the city. To me, that doesn't constitute something specific to this position, which is, I will acknowledge, a difficult component to this, because ideally you would just have it written down in the charter section. You shouldn't have to try to interpret this. And so certainly if you have a different interpretation of that, then that can guide your vote tonight, and certainly can guide the guidance you're giving to the rest of the council on the context and how you think it's right for this to be interpreted.
Just ask a general question on this. I know we decided on this to fill a position, but is the position needed? You take a step back and really look at things and what's going on, is it a needed position?
I
don't
asked
know.
that, and everyone got mad at me.
Well, that's, I say, it was brought up at the meeting when Ty resigned, and it was just a quick yes to fill it, and there was really no thought put into it. But when you start thinking about it, we got 3 great employees. They all know what they're doing. You know, it's another salary. Our budget's gonna be tight. Just a question if it's needed or not.
Right, and if it is needed, does it have to be a supervisor one? That's, I mean, I asked this last time too.
If it's not supervisory, what would it be?
I don't know. I don't know. I guess, like I said, take a step back and look at it. What is needed?
Scott and Tom and I talked after the last park board meeting just about some issues with the aquatic center, and I know Tom said, like, the documentation, the written reports, things like that, where that Ty did, are very difficult for, you know, or that's a big part of that job. You know, another part of that job where I think, you know, we really need to talk about as a council and a personnel committee is the aquatic center. You know, that's something the public works director is supposed to have a larger role in than what has happened, and were some issues this summer, so it is something that I'd like to, you know, talk about more.
I know that, but it just can't be for the pool, because the pool is only
Right,
3, 4, 5
correct.
months out of the year that is actually up and
Correct.
running and doing anything. So I don't think it's fair to judge a position just on that.
No, but I'm saying that's a component of that we need a city staff person connected with that pool. Who that person should be, I'm not sure. You know, I think, I shouldn't say that, I mean, that we can talk about.
And, you know, you consider that person, department head at the pool, the manager, and in the past, we've had department heads reporting directly to the city administrator. So I don't know if that's possible today, but it seemed like it was working in the past. So, I don't know.
If I may just say a little bit here, you know, of course, I'm willing to do whatever you guys want to do. I mean, if you want this to fall on the city administrator position, then I'll make it work. I just, as I shared when this came up before, this public works is not my background. I've never worked in it. You know, I work around it. I've supervised the staff, public works director, but it's not I've never worked there, so it's not my background. There's a lot of things that do go on. You know, you've seen some of the things that Ty brings to you, you know, every year when we're doing street maintenance and things like that. He brings all these quotes in for you guys to consider. Replacement of equipment, he's bringing that in. We also, you know, when we do a project, you know, it's not just me and the engineer sitting down, it's the public works director that was there too. And it's nice when that person has some background that can add to the discussion. It's not just that we're sitting there listening to the engineer and going along with whatever the engineer says. So, and I get it that, you know, whoever you hire, maybe there's a growing period and, you know, they have to learn some of this stuff. And a lot of it is learned from consultants. I will say that from my own experience over the years. Probably 90% of what I've learned in the profession has been from consultants. It's very, you know, that's how we, you know, everybody learns and starts someplace. I'm just saying that, you know, it's going to add another layer of work for me. Somebody's got to supervise these guys. Somebody's got to coordinate the work. You just, you know, they have to answer to somebody. You know, we all do as city staff. We all answer to somebody. And so somebody's going to have to supervise them. So, you know, you could do a test drive on this and see how it works out. You've done it before, so maybe there's some practical experience there that could be re-implemented. I'm not sure. But, you know, I haven't really, to be honest, I haven't put a lot of thought in it because the focus was we're hiring somebody new to fill the position.
Let's go back to where you said something about relying or going off of what our engineer stated. When have we not gone with what he has stated?
Well, I guess what I'm referring to
mean-
is some of our early staff meetings, as far as when we're looking at doing a project. There are some things that we do go over. You know, our engineer will present things, and he's running, a lot of times they're running things by us too. It's not just, this is what we think, this is what you should do, this is what we're gonna go with. It's not exactly like that. There's a lot of give and take, or at least going back through it. Usually, you know, the city staff has the most knowledge about our system. The engineers definitely do have a lot of knowledge, but it's the staff that's maintaining it. So they have that hands-on knowledge of what our systems are. And so that's a very valuable asset when we're sitting down and reviewing projects and what should we do? Because in the end, it's our staff that's going to maintain it. So we want to make sure that we're getting this done the way we'd like it to be done.
And I understand that, but I also feel very competent in the business that we hired, be our city engineers. I mean, when those decisions are being made about a road, Justin has the experience. That's why he's being called out to assess it and say, hey, these are the options. These are what projects I think you should do. And then he brings it before the council and he explains it. In addition to that, we have subject matter experts. I think Justin's more than competent to do that streets piece. And in the absence of Ty, I think that he would just be elevated to be more hands-on, which I feel he's very confident.
And I'm not taking away anything from our
Yeah.
engineers. They're very competent. They're excellent. Here's an example, water breaks.
Yeah.
If we have an issue, you know, on a city street, they're not gonna know that. You know, they come to staff and ask those kind of questions, you know, or if we're having problems with a lift station, or if we're having sewer problems, you know, where are we having backup issues? Those are the kind of things they're gonna ask staff. They're not gonna have that knowledge or that hands-on knowledge of what those kind of things are, how they're operating. Even at our water plant, you know, it's the guys that are actually operating it. They're the ones that are gonna have the most knowledge. Yeah, we can talk about the improvements that we need to make, and that's where they come in, and that's great. But there is a value in a city staff and what they can bring to this, you know, when we're trying to plan projects and plan improvements and things like that. And it's nice to have that. And even the staff we have right now, they're gaining knowledge and experience as they're going here. They're growing, and they continue to bring some of that to the table as well. They know, you know, where we're having issues with, say, a catch basin. You know, is there something wrong with it? It's not flowing, you know, it's not draining properly. You know, these are just rough examples, but they're examples.
I guess if we decide that we don't want to fill the position, then, and there's a problem, and Alex doesn't have all his licensing yet, I mean, there's gaps in things, then where does that go to? Because, as Steve has said, he's not versed in that, and I don't think we can add any more work to Steve. I think everybody's in consensus with that, is that he's got enough on his plate right now, much less trying to figure out something else. So if that's an issue and we don't have someone with a license, just a question, then what do we do?
Well, I can answer that, I guess. There are other options out there. You know, right now, we're contracting with Layton as a volunteer, but there's other, you know, either People Service, for example, they're a private company. Arlington uses them among others in the state. So they're available with staff as well that we could contract or something like that too, you know, for a short period of time. You know, Alex is going to get his licenses,
Yes.
so he's going to be, you know, what we want, what we need.
Could we check with one of the three that we do have if they want kind of more of a supervisory role, give them a little pay increase to take on a little more responsibility? Maybe that's the person they report to, or, I don't know, just a thought. I'm just trying to think of different ideas to save some money and,
Like a senior lead type?
yeah.
I've actually done lead positions before. It can be a good tool depending on the environment. It can work.
I mean, as far as the pool goes, what are we I know there's been a lot of issues there this summer, and we need better control of that, but I don't think we need an $80,000 plus employee to run that pool. I mean, it loses its money every year the way it is. I think we just need a good manager for the summer months to take care of it, instead of having these high school kids and young kids taking care of it. That seems to be a big problem.
Yeah, and more city oversight. I don't know what that should look
Yeah,
like.
and I don't either, but
Like I said, I'm not against this. I'm just trying to bring all these to your just providing you with the information here. You know, if this is the direction you guys want to go, like I said, I'll make it work. I prefer, you know, what Scott is suggesting there that versus myself being a supervisor, maybe looking at a lead person from staff. That would be a little bit easier for me anyway to try to manage that.
Do any of our staff have time to do all the paperwork and documents? And we should should we have 2 people licensed in water in case Alex is on an extended vacation? I mean, these are all questions.
These are all
Ty did it.
questions.
Nobody else obviously had it.
What?
Ty was doing it alone, nobody else had it, correct?
Well,
No,
we
we've had,
employees working towards it.
Right.
Like, we
Well,
only have.
we've had a water and sewer operator over the years as well.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is, never mind.
well, what did we do years ago when we had 3 employees?
Yeah, you
mean-
remember, Jess, like when Bob was running it, or?
Actually, Bob was hired after it because I don't even know why we decided we needed to bring a 4th person, a 4th job in, because I was against it from day one, because I didn't think we needed it,
It was Cullen Graham's then, he was the last one to do it alone?
probably. Because then it was still Colin, Mark, and Bucky. And that was, I don't know if Orland was helping us part-time or not, but then that's when the floods came, and we had all those problems. And then after that, I know Colin left, so. But it worked for a lot of years. That's why I've always questioned that 4th position.
Do you think that things have changed as far as requirements and reporting in that time, or do you think it's all the same and that's why they could handle it? Because things are the same as they were 10 years ago?
I'm not saying that.
Well, I'm just wondering, you know, like, is there more now?
I
That
don't know.
has to be done, yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, I think in the summertime then, we always brought in part-time to help out, because it was a busy season.
But that's what the trade-off was for the 4th, was we weren't gonna hire any part-time people during the summer. But
And like this year, we got a young kid doing it. It's a good opportunity for somebody to, a job opportunity, to help out. And even when I was small, in high school, I worked for the city over the summer. A couple of summers I did that.
it really makes more sense to be paying somebody that to mow grass compared to somebody at.
That's, I mean, there'd be an expense here, but it's not gonna be near what,
Right.
you know, if we're gonna save money somewhere. I guess it's something to think about. I don't know.
But this evening, I guess the committee has a recommendation, so I think maybe that's your first course of action, and then depending on where that goes, I guess we'll decide, you can determine what your next course of action is.
I'm not really comfortable with doing away with the position unless we have a better understanding of that reporting and the response. I mean, I know we have the job description, but, and, conversations with our existing staff to see if they can they take on any more work? Are they at their max? So I guess if the council wants to talk about the position itself, I would ask that we wait and get that information.
Yeah, I think that would be the fair thing to do, and so that they're involved too, and not just say, that's what we're gonna do, and here you go, now you have to do this work. I can say that when we did the interviews and made our decision, it was, Leighton certainly had all of the qualifications that we needed. He's qualified for all the parts, including the pool, so
Was he supervisor?
that was the only thing he was not.
Wasn't this supposed to be like the main?
Well, there's a lot of main parts to that position, and every one of those candidates, nobody had absolutely everything, so.
I remember when I brought it up, not to advertise this position, that was a whole big thing, was Steve didn't want more work and blah, 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 we need that supervisor. But he doesn't have that experience anyways, but, a few months ago, you guys told me that that's what we needed.
And I agree. To me, if you're gonna have someone managing the pool, the staff down there, the other city employees and stuff like that, I think supervisory experience is important. I don't have a problem with holding off and doing a little more research and just holding back yet for now and thinking about it a little more. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
So like tabling it,
Correct.
is that your motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to table it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Kufal and a second by Padilla. Any discussion or comments?
So what's your direction at this point, then?
We're tabling it.
So the guidance, I think that is to see if there's changes with reporting, to see if the lead, if that's a possibility of a position that we could create, and what would be, what that looks like.
And I think conversations with our staff as far as
Yes.
what their comfort level is with all of this.
So just to be clear, then, we still don't have the supervisory part of it. If we go with just the crew we have now.
Until we find out.
Yeah, but none of them would have supervisory. I don't believe that any of them have had supervisory.
Well, Tom's run crews before,
Yeah.
construction crews. And I'm sure Justin's got experience with his past,
With the fire department, supervisors
She's
20,
supervising that.
yeah.
That's where he worked before coming here.
yeah.
So is Alex, for that matter,
Oh, he supervised me.
before coming here. I concur that, we should have a definite conversation with them. They're the most knowledgeable about what needs to get done and how it gets done. And I think they've had a little bit of an opportunity now in Ty's absence to get a feel for some of the things that he did.
And what have they said since then? Have they come to you with anything?
They've basically they've expressed that they're realizing how much he did, basically, now that they're having to pick up that extra work. They weren't aware to the extent of some of the things that he was doing.
And Tom shared that too when I talked with him, so I've heard that just from him. I haven't talked to the other employees.
Anything else? So I got basically just research the concept of a lead position, talk with the public works staff.
Do you want to check what it would cost to contract for, like, people services or an individual to assist with the water? Is it an option to maybe contract out? I mean, just what the cost would be?
Until he gets his licensing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Keep in mind, we do have that agreement with Layton right now.
Okay, we still need to vote on that motion to table it, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
When would you like this to come back by?
How long is it gonna take you?
No later than September 16th. Can't afford to keep waiting.
Yep.
We'll do it that meeting.
'Cause we have a lot coming up next meeting with, we have our budget work session. If I can make it work the next meeting, I will, but no later than the 16th.
Next item on the agenda then is the Public Works Department. We have the residential septic dumping agreement.
So this is a similar agreement that we've had before. This is with Matthews Septic Systems, I think it's called. I don't have it out. So it's the same type of agreement that we've did before. This is Matthews Sewer System. Sheldon Matthews is his first name. So basically, this would be for, again, residential waste only. And they would basically have to call in advance and set it up with Alex and our wastewater to come in and basically dump their septic waste into a manhole.
We had a very similar agreement just
It's
recently.
exactly the
didn't
same
we?
agreement, just different parties,
Okay.
different party. Same fee. $80 per 1,000 gallons.
And this, Matthews has never done it here before, or they have?
We've never done this
Dealt
before
with them,
until
okay.
we started this with the last one. So this is the first year, to my knowledge.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A motion by Padilla. Do we have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Eker. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Any updates on infiltration, or is that just?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. So moving to the police department, we have the Tri-Line Police Department concept.
Okay, I put quite a bit of notes in the action sheet on page 109 of your packet. Probably the biggest thing right now, you know, as we've talked about, we had the open house back on July 20th. We gathered some public input at that meeting. We had quite a few attendees. Unfortunately, a lot of them were from out of town. So I think almost all of you were there. So you probably had an opportunity to talk to some of them that were present at that meeting. The one thing, I guess, we've talked a little bit about our city charter, but there is a provision in there, section 15, titled Chief of Police, and it essentially states that the city shall appoint a chief of police. So we're basically required by our own charter to have a chief, and we wouldn't have a department if we're not going to be hiring a chief. So basically that means that we would have a department. And if you want to change that, basically you have to, all council members have to be present at a meeting, first of all, to make any changes to the charter. And I'm getting this from Mark, so he can chime in here, but basically, and also the state statute. But you all have to vote in favor of any changes to the charter. And then once approved, we've done this in the past where we've approved any changes in the form of an ordinance. And like our ordinances, they do have to be advertised in the paper or posted in the newspaper of the change. And the only difference between an ordinance and a charter change is a charter, it takes 3 months after it's been published to become effective. Whereas a standard ordinance, it's effective immediately after it's been published. So that's a pretty substantial change. So even if the council desired to join and approve the tri-line police department and join with the cities of Winthrop and Gibbon, we would not be in a position to do so basically because of our own charter, because that would trigger a public hearing, and going through that process, we would not meet the January 1 preferred start for this tri-line.
Actually, no, we don't need to change the charter. All it says is the council shall appoint a chief of police. Does not say anything about a department, does not say anything. That's all it says.
I know, but it implies that we would have to have a department. Why would we have a
No,
chief
it does
without-
not say that. Black and white. We can appoint Logan as our chief of police. Yes?
He's not a city employee, but I mean,
Yeah. He doesn't
mean,
have to
you have
be.
to be a ci-
It just says right here, chief of police. The council shall appoint a chief of police. Their appointment shall continue at the will of the council. He or she shall perform duties imposed upon the chief of police by law and pursuant of the charter and ordinance of the city. It says nothing about a police department. Cleveland had only a police chief, which he now just retired. There was no department, it was just a police chief. He retired, now they went with the county. We are not disbanding our police department. We are not doing any of that. All we gotta do is appoint a chief of police, which would be Logan.
But do you understand the at the will of the council? That's not Logan.
Well, chief of police,
At the will of the council. You just read it. At the will of the council.
right?
And at the will of the council means we can terminate him. We cannot terminate Logan because he works for a joint powers agreement.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to contort ourselves to say that, well, we're just appointing the tri-line chief as Gaylord's chief. And I guess if it was just that, maybe we can come up with some exotic way of structuring it, but there's no, any way this plays out, it seems to me that there isn't going to be unilateral control over employment decisions, appointment, as it relates to that chief. So, you know, to Tony's point, that at the will of the council, like under any ideation of this tri-line police department, the chief is not going to be serving solely at the will of the Gaylord City Council. And that's where things get tricky.
I read it black and white because all this gray area just gets complicated,
That
just
is
like with
black and
everything.
white, at the will of
Yeah.
the council. At the will of the council. Black and white.
It also says she shall perform the duties imposed upon the chief of police by law and pursuant to the charter. Tri-Line Police wouldn't be pursuant to our charter.
Why?
They're not following what, Tri-Line Police isn't just gonna go by our charter.
They're going by
You
the
guys
joint
went through up
powers.
and, they got, yeah.
Well, won't we have to disclose that in our joint agreement, that that needs to be done?
Well, how are you gonna do that when you got two other cities involved?
Because
How
we're
are you
supposed to
gonna-
have a police officer here 90% of the time.
I don't remember that being said anywhere 90%.
Yeah, I do. It was after our discussion, they sent out an email or something, they talked, do you remember that?
They said if they have
Yes,
two
yeah,
officers on, if they have two officers on, one of them would be in Gaylord. But when they have one person at night, how is it gonna be 90% of the time?
Charlie, do you remember that?
I don't think it was a percentage, but it was like, out of
Base-
so many hours a day of coverage we would have, and it was
20
significant.
or 22 hours.
And actually, based on the schedule that they have in their proposal, even most evenings, they had two people. The evenings that I saw that didn't, where it did go down to one, was usually Sunday nights. Other than that, most evenings or overnights, I saw at least two officers on duty. At least based on the schedule that was proposed. Granted, I'm sure there's room for, changing that. Obviously, this is just a proposal, so.
I think we've kind of diverted from the charter chief position itself. And we've kind of gone down a different rabbit hole, and I don't know if this is something that if the council as a whole needs to agree upon to change the charter. I don't think that would happen. If we want to talk about other things and then have a vote, I'm open to that as well. But this specific issue, it is black and white. And the chief from the Tri-Line Police Department, we will not have control of an at-will employee, nor will he or she impose those law in pursuant to the charter and ordinance of the city.
Well, technically, we don't tell Charlie what to do. We just suggest that, we need to work on the ordinances and stuff like that. He knows his duties, and why couldn't the other chief that we appointed do the same thing? Because they're still gonna wanna work with us, no matter who it is.
But there's two other cities that would have the same voting decision that ours does. And we're not gonna get around the charter.
Can't we still, kind of going down what Jessica's saying, in this case, obviously Logan's the one that's proposed here. If we make him as the chief of Gaylord, he would basically serve as the Tri-Line chief, but I mean, he would be the one reporting to us and overseeing us. I mean, because like, if we had to disband, for, let's say half our officers left and we disband our department, and we went through the sheriff's department, who would we then basically say that our police chief would be acting, whoever is the sheriff? I mean, at that point, who do we nominate, even though we're under a county contract, or even if we have to contract with Arlington or Winthrop, we still have to nominate who our police chief is that reports to us.
Well,
In this case, couldn't we, if we went with Tri-Line, say, well, either Logan or even Charlie would be the city's police chief? Because and my idea with Charlie is if he's gonna be a sergeant, he's the one basically overseeing Gaylord, in my eyes.
No.
And just an idea, and I mean, that's a way of changing how the wording is within the contract, that, you have these specific people to each town that would still oversee that town specifically.
I think that if we went down to one officer, we wouldn't disband our department.
And I'm just asking.
If, in the past, I've served as an interim chief where my license was on the line in Arlington. They've had people from the county when Henderson's gone short where they've had, for example, the chief deputy has served as the police chief where his license is down on that organization. So, that's a different scenario than what you're discussing.
Could we not do that here? I mean,
To have them put
if
their
we,
license
if we
down?
basically went with Tri-Line as our police department, but then you listed Logan as our police chief,
And he'll be responsible to us and we can fire him if he's not doing what we're asking.
yeah, you could switch it out to anybody else that you want on the department. And I'm just, I mean, is there room for that, or what's the?
Well, when you read the bylaws, there's a huge financial, I mean, we've talked about this before, but it's hard to, agree to something when we haven't seen the contract. And based on that and the ordinance, I want to keep the line of communication open. I absolutely do, but I just feel like we need more time, which just seems to be the theme of the night. We need more time to research things. But these are big decisions, and, yeah, it's just.
But the
Well-
thing is they will work with us, whatever we dislike or something, they will work with us. That's the thing. And I thought I asked Steve to mail those out.
We
I
got
know
them in
that.
they were in our packet.
Was it?
The draft was.
Yeah,
for
The draft
JPA.
was.
If
That was
anybody's
the last
ever
thing that
worked
we
with
got.
a joint powers agreement, the joint powers board is gonna have the authority to direct them. Our council will not. The joint powers will be the authority that is directing this police department, not our council.
But can't we set up the provisions before, in the contract before this is even done?
Well, they want payment in October, if you look through their plan.
Well, and the board is consistent, though, of 2 members from each town, starting with Gaylord's mayor as being the head of the board.
Non-voting member is the mayor.
Yeah, for a tiebreaker, but still 2/3 each.
Right, that means that if Winthrop and Gibbon don't want something, then we're not gonna get it. If Gibbon and Winthrop want an SRO, they're gonna get it, and it doesn't matter what our opinion is.
And we could put that in the JPA, that SROs will be basically paid for via whatever school district they're in. So if GFW wants an SRO, if they vote in favor of it, that gets added to Winthrop and Gibbon's bill, I guess would be my thought, and put that wording right into the agreement. If Gaylord and Sibley East want to put an SRO in, that's great, but then that bill comes from Gaylord.
So we would pay it.
Yeah, between Sibley East and us. 'Cause, I mean, that's only fair. If they're paying for GFWs, then we should pay for Sibley East.
Well, part of it, because
Correct.
Arlington. Yeah.
And that'd be negotiating with the school. I mean, I would like to see a little bit of, invoicing from the school if we would go down that route, but again, that's all up for determination. And honestly, I guess what Don says a little bit is taking the time to go through this. It's very obvious that we're not gonna change the charter anyway, so if that's the issue it comes down to, then that's the way it is. Because obviously, I know for sure, Tony, you probably would vote against that, and I'm guessing at least Scott's.
I'm not in favor of it, no.
So you got 2 people going
Be
against
honest.
it right now. And so I guess the only way to move forward is if I would say, or I think we put a committee together consisting of 2 people to go and figure out what they want to do, move forward with getting more of a final draft of that JPA, negotiating some of these things, getting that done, and then come January 1st, I mean, I know Scott will still be around, but at that point, if the council, once we have more information and more discussions, that's when they can take a second talk about changing the charter and moving forward. At that point, I know I've talked to Logan, like at that open house, and I told him already, I don't think this is gonna happen on January 1st. I'm guessing this will be a 2027 thing. And so if it comes down to having to wait the 3 months, that's April. And if that's when we start, then that's when we start.
And I talked to Mayor Trebelhorn also, and,
Oh.
I mean, they just want us to give them a direction. They're not worried so much about the time.
Correct. It's not a
It's-
January 1st, it's gotta
Right,
be. I
no,
mean,
it's
obviously,
not. It's
better,
just,
but
if we're still willing to continue working and discussing it, is more or less what she wants.
and
what
actually
they
moving
want.
forward instead of just going on and on about the same thing. Let's
Yeah.
actually try to get a plan that's
Right.
gonna work. Whether we stick with our department or go tri-lane, let's just move forward with what we're gonna do instead of bringing it up on every other
And
council
we
meeting.
talked about this at our last council meeting. I mean, we have 2 cities that want to work with us. We know the direction of the future unless there's drastic changes. We're going to have to rely on our community partners for help with, some of these, especially with emergency services. I mean, I think it's very wise, even if, our charter doesn't allow us to do this now, to keep those conversations going, to keep meeting. And that's where we talked about like an informal committee that does meet with Gibbon and Winthrop quarterly or however often they want to meet, to just keep the line of communication open and talking about sharing those resources and brainstorming what we can do together.
And I mean, to add to it, we're talking about having a meeting in January, or February about the ambulance, where we're probably gonna invite Winthrop and, Winthrop Gibbon, and then Arlington and Ridgeview to it too. And, I mean, to have that conversation, if we keep spinning our tires here, what's gonna make anybody wanna work with us then?
Right.
I know the ambulance has plenty of other room, whether we stick with Ridgeview or, you know, maybe we in Arlington go together, or us and that way go together. Either way, I guess I don't want to burn a bridge, and we already work with Winthrop for Public Works via a jetter and some tools. You know, so it's just keeping that close friend, ally to the west of us, a good working relationship with them.
I don't think we're burning any bridges here. We're just not in favor. It just doesn't fit for us right now. If Winthrop and Gibbon wants to do it, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Winthrop. I have no problem with their police department. But right now, I just don't think this is the answer.
Is there any way, I've asked before, is there any way that we can just kind of trial this so everybody feels more comfortable without making that total commitment, without putting everything together? Because it'd be very hard to take it apart, or we're gonna lose things if we do. I don't know, is there
I
any
think
way to
that's
do
I don't
that?
know if, it'd be hard, because obviously you're still talking about paying multiple people, like
I
a chief,
know.
and you're not having that redundancy.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
I don't know how they'd feel about this, but my thought would be, I know there's that buy-in period, and Tony's brought this up for the first 5 years, but, you know, where we transfer all of our equipment over, you know, maybe we see if we can negotiate, you know, what if basically we lease everything to them? So that way, for the first 2 or 3 years or whatever, and then it transfers after that. You know, because that way, in the way I would propose that is, this is obviously not something that's already functioning. You know, if Winthrop and Gibbon already had this going, then I could see you buying into it, because you have to buy into a working product. Being that this is literally a new product, I think there's room to try and negotiate, like I said, do a 2-year lease of all the equipment, rather than actually transferring it over. And it's kind of the same thing with Ridgeview, because Ridgeview leases, there's a lease for our building and for our rigs, isn't there?
We have an
I know
agreement
so.
that, we're not
But
necessarily
it's
leasing.
part of the agreement, though.
It's
that
part of, just
we
part of the
own
agreement. We
the
own the
building, we
rigs,
own the
we own the
equipment.
trucks, the rigs, and we allow them to utilize our building.
So in terms of a trial period, I think that's gonna be the closest, best way to go about it with authentically doing it. You know, I will still have 3 chiefs and still be 3 different departments.
Right,
You know, at least here we could be 1, but our equipment's just leased.
Yeah, there would be some things that would still be doubled up and we'd have to pay for, but I think people would feel more comfortable, and we would see maybe some of the hurdles before
Correct.
we're locked into it, so to speak.
And I wouldn't use it as a way out.
No.
I propose it as a simple, this is not a proven product yet. You know, like I said, if Winthrop and Gibbon already had this going where it's a proven system, if we're buying into it, that's different. And as far as Scott said, you know, if we do buy in later, I understand that's a possibility where we could buy in later. My fear with that is, like, Tony goes back, we have no say on the front end, and I guarantee we'll have limited say later, as well as our buying will be more. Because I know you know, you look at, like, you know, fire departments that have gone together and stuff like that, there's always a different rate and a different buy-in and a different amount of representation for the towns that come in later than the ones that are in up front. Up front, we can negotiate the entire agreement. If we come in later, the agreement's gonna be made already, and we'll simply be just buying on to whatever they have.
I
You
disagree
know,
with
and that's my
that.
fear with waiting a little bit.
I disagree with that, because I think that we have a population that's bigger than both of them combined, so I think that if we decide later that we want to become part of it, I think that if they go together right now, nothing is gonna change as far as their wages, as far as their hours, this being a 24-hour department, none of that's gonna change, because they can't do it with the number of people that they have. They need us to go to that new model. They have to have us. So without us, they can't have an investigator with their structure the way it is. And another, you know, I propose that at the open house, why don't we just leave things the same? Everybody's still working for the same department, using the same equipment. Have them keep logs, let's see what we're getting for coverage. And I don't know that went over very well. So,
Yeah, and I actually, when you brought that up I'm like, that would have been a good idea, but I felt like we were under so much pressure for time. So like, had we talked about that like back in April or whenever, like, but I don't think that rush for time is as, I mean, I get the sense Winthrop and Gibbon still want to work with us. If we're not ready, they want to continue those conversations. So I think we can take a deep breath, throw around some of these ideas. Chief Eichten has said 1,000,000 times, this is just a concept. You know, this is only an idea. They're open to other ideas. So, you know, right now we're kind of stuck with our charter, and maybe that's good. It makes us slow down. and we'll just keep those line of communication open, but I think we should, I don't know, I mean, it wouldn't be a joint power boards, but some kind of committee where we meet regularly with them to talk about maybe expanding our mutual aid agreement, other ideas, like the ideas you guys have both had, and any other ideas we come up with.
So just, again, as far as moving forward, what if we go ahead, like you said, do a committee, and obviously contingent on Winthrop and Gibbon going together? And then I guess this might be more of a question for Charlie and Steve. Is there a possibility to basically create this schedule with the group we have now? I mean, obviously, there's still gonna be 3 different police departments, but between you and the other 2 chiefs, I mean, can we make a schedule similar to what you're proposing and kind of function that way for a couple months here between now and the end of the year? I mean, if you guys are on board with that, we just mentioned wanting to try a schedule. And like I said, if we put a committee together and maybe come January, it works really good, we move forward. If it doesn't work at all, then we can just move on to other business.
But I do think we need the committee, as you suggested, to get our important parts that we want.
But do that at the same time. But then on the back end, do the
But-
scheduling
yeah.
for the cops so we can see what coverage looks like.
But, I mean.
Can I address some points that I have that, I'd like to address them just for the people that watch this, because not all of them came to the open house, as well as some of us weren't at the open house. So I think that these things need to be brought up and need to be thought about as I'm covering them. So this sounds like a good time. I have some PowerPoints that I wanted to talk about. And number 1 was, will Gaylord have better coverage with proposed police merger? Right now, we have what's called a gold standard, right, in policing. We have our own police department. We can tell them, we can guide them, and we can give them left and right limits. If we have a tri-line merger, we will not have that. We will not have dedicated up to 22 hours of coverage a day like we do now. Current officers are available for calls for service and respond from Gaylord. With merger, if there's a medical in town or crime in progress, there's a potential, you have to wait for an officer to come from Gibbon. There's 16 miles between Gibbon and Gaylord. If you look at that, even as the Chief Logan said, going 85 miles an hour, which you can't through Winthrop, it's gonna take 11 and a half minutes for somebody to get here. Our proactive policing, which our businesses count on. Right now, they've conducted this month, the last report that was submitted by Chief Eichten, 47 walkthroughs, 64 business checks, 2 school checks, 155 directed patrols, 64 park checks. This is all going to be cut down when we don't have control over our police department. Gaylord is the busiest of the 3. We hold the courthouse, the jail, social services, Michael Foods, that we have here that we're responsible for. I listen to it on the radio all day long about the calls that are coming out, and Gaylord is a busy city for its size. The possibility of tri-line car assisting, Fairfax. So now you have a car that's coming from Fairfax, not even from our county, and that's gonna even add more time. We're looking at the residents' money. Will tri-line department save money? The first thing that Chief Logan said at the open house was it will not save money. And originally, we were given a piece of paper that said we were gonna save $40,000 or $50,000. With the pay increases, officers' pay and benefits, they usually consume about 70% of the budget. The proposal has taken that they've come up with their wages, the highest paid comparable size city to compare themselves to. They've also compared themselves to a city that is a lot bigger. Winthrop wants a $15,000 annual increase, which was in their proposal, and a $300 monthly expense for the chief to drive his car back and forth. Our chief will get a $20,000 a year increase, not factoring in overtime costs and holiday pay. And that's for a reduction. Given chief will also get a large pay increase with benefits that they don't offer. Officers are gonna get a huge increase. The proposed budget is missing a lot of items that were pointed out in their plan that are gonna cost money. Winthrop has already stated at a council meeting they are responsible for managing all pay and benefits. So that is gonna cost our city money to pay their staff to manage the payroll, all those things, that the benefits, all that is gonna cost more money. The draft JPA asked for the city's shared costs by October 1st, 2026. If we're looking at, honestly, something that the city wants to do is save money, the county can provide the services to Gaylord at a considerable cost savings, and their headquarters is right here. If you look at what happens to all the current equipment purchased by the residents, we have squad cars, we have drones, we have radios, we have everything that these officers are wearing. Tri-Line proposes now it's changed to 6 years in the commitment. If Gaylord wants to leave the merger, we have to give a 12-month notice, and the Joint Powers Board will determine what, if any, equipment will be given back. And at the maximum amount of money that they're willing to give us back is $250,000. It says, will not exceed. We will not ever be able to start up a police department. We will not overcome that. The current equipment for, that we have contracts on, that's not gonna go away for the body cam, the tasers, the squad cars. We will lose control of the PD. No, there won't be anybody at the police department all the time to speak to. If there's an issue or complaint about something and how it's being handled, the council will not be able to have any control over that. The Joint Powers Board will. Community policing, like I was just talking about with all those checks, that'll be at the leisure of Tri-Line and what is determined with our 2 out of 6 votes. The Gaylord, right now, will Gaylord have a say in the future of the merger and equipment? We have 2 votes, 2 members. Gibbon has the same for a city of 700 and some people. Winthrop has 1,349 people, same say. If they decide that they want something, they will be able to get what they want. For example, the school resource officer. If Gaylord has the president of the board, the mayor is a non-voting member unless there's a tie, so that doesn't help us. If Gaylord has an issue with how an incident was handled, it won't be dealt with by our city. The Joint Powers Board will be, and it was spelled out clearly in that Joint Powers Agreement. All policies, issues would go through the Joint Powers Board and not the council. Again, we have this whole city charter issue, and along those lines, Charlie is also our emergency manager. We're gonna have to fill that position. That's gonna cost money. Who benefits from this? Winthrop, they have the headquarters in their city. People will hang out at the headquarters. Absolutely. Winthrop will finally be able to share some of their high costs. Winthrop will employ city staff to get additional money. Gibbon gets the extra coverage because they can't provide it on their own. And the officers overall will benefit by the pay structure that's proposed. I proposed a 12-month demo period to see how everything works using the Joint Powers Board, establish the board, establish measurements of success, which is what seems like everybody's talking about right now. All departments keep equipment separate and the same as it currently is, and have logs from all 3 cities. When we've worked with Arlington in the past, we kept the logs so that their council could see exactly what was happening and how much time was being spent in their city. That's an easy thing to do if you guys want to look at that. Another alternative to jumping into Tri-Line is speaking with Arlington about the consolidation. They're 7 miles down the road. They share Sibley East with us. The police chief is open to it, and you could do the same thing with the Joint Powers Board. They're not coming from Gibbon. I think that, again, keep logs, try it out on a temporary basis and see how it works. If Gibbon and Winthrop want to go through and explore this, let them do it. Let them see how it works out on their 1 year of consolidation. See what problems they're running into, and then if this is something that Gaylord wants to do at that time to see how it's actually functioning, then look at it then. But right now, to push this thing through on the timeline that's being proposed by the JPA, it's unrealistic, and I will not support it.
Okay, so to follow suit with Tony, I'm not going against you, don't worry. Like I said earlier, I want to see the chiefs put a schedule together to show us what the coverage looks like, and in the meantime, we put a committee together to go over everything, like what Tony just said, trial period / seeing how it works, seeing some of the in and outs. Which, because then that way, I mean, just like you said at the end, obviously all that stuff you said it's definitely possible, but there's negotiation in this agreement yet. The agreement's not signed. This is a rough draft. So again, if we do a little bit of a trial through the rest of the year for coverage and, get this committee together, we can address a lot of those concerns. Not all of them, but it gives us that chance.
How do you make that work? So it happens by the end of the year or
I don't-
towards the.
Well, it don't have to happen until the end of the year, I'm just saying in the meantime, whether it's January 1st or whatever, but I just think we should go forward with starting it instead of waiting another meeting, because then we're just gonna shorten our period more and more and push the buck down the road and keep having this on our agenda every weekend or every
Right,
week.
but I guess you're saying your trial period starts immediately till the end of the year?
Well, I would say put this committee together, let the chiefs talk about it with the administrators to figure out how it would work, and then come back end of September on, you know, this is what we got for a layout for our trial period, and move forward with it. Whether we set
I'm
a,
not disagreeing with the trial period, but
What-
I know September, the administrators are gonna be tied up with the budgets. I think we need a different
and
timeline.
that's what I'm saying, you have a committee of two people getting together, and just to put this together as a proposal, just like anything else. I mean, if it's a trial period, we have no sign, I mean, we probably have some sort of a little agreement, like a mutual aid agreement, but that's all, to do a trial period, like what Tony just said. I mean, yeah, you're not gonna see the financial side of it so much, but you're gonna at least see the coverage. You know, because if our coverage is worse, we'll know it for sure. If our coverage is better, we'll know it for sure. There's no, it will get worse or it will get better, you know, it's a for sure thing then. You know, because right now we're all guessing. I know, because everything, what you just said, and same with everything in the proposal, are just estimates. Because nothing's been done yet. Nothing's been tried yet.
There's been tagging happen down at the park on the bridge. Bathrooms down there get vandalized often. People I've heard had their houses toilet papered. There's cars sitting around town that have violations, ordinance violations. There's loud exhaust. There's all sorts of stuff going around in town. Do you think any of that's gonna get any better doing this?
So you're saying it's not working
Seriously,
now,
do you
though.
think it will get better? I mean, there's issues now, and do you think it's gonna get better by doing this concept? Can you honestly say, yeah, I think it will get better?
Again, where we try to do a trial, I agree with you, there's plenty of stuff going on, but that tagging and parking stuff's been going on for years.
When you have decreased presence by police departments, and again, you're hearing it from two police officers. When you have decreased presence in a community where proactive policing is not happening, crime increases. It's a fact. It's an absolute fact. If you don't believe that, the biggest example of that in our state is Minneapolis, who's short an extreme amount of officers, and their crime rates are skyrocketed.
So Tony, there's a city north of here. Since spring, have your crime rates gone up
Yes.
substantially?
Yes. We've had crimes that have never happened there that have been happening.
So is this happening
last
everywhere
year.
or just up just north of here?
What are you talking about? Let's be specific. 'Cause I don't
You're a
really-
police of a department,
Yes.
bless you. You're the police of, or a chief of a department who reduced the department by a position as well.
An investigator position.
You
So it's
reduced,
not a road position.
okay, but you guys did the same, you guys reduced in order to compensate on wages
And then.
and benefits.
We lost an investigator position that did not work the road.
Okay.
That we did not have before. We lost an investigator position that did not work the road. Our road coverage is the same.
And I get that. And so then here, under proposal, if our concern is coverage, who's to say we can't go to an 8th officer? Or excuse me, is it 8 that's proposed now? 8 officers?
9, they're proposing 9.
I thought it was 8. Either way, if that's an issue, who's to say we can't add one?
That costs more money.
Well, it costs more money when we have union contracts coming up here this month.
I don't think we're gonna
I'm
solve
just-
this tonight. I
so
think
exactly,
go
so
back
let's
to
move
the
forward.
issue on the agenda, like, and I will reach out to Winthrop and Gibbons, see if we can like just start meeting informally to try to, you know, come up with other ideas and other strategies to share resources if the council's okay with that.
So a consensus to do kind of a committee, or work towards that.
Well-
And like I said,
We
can
have to
we
make sure
come
they're
up?
on board, so let's
Correct,
make sure
so
they're on
to a
board first.
consensus.
I mean,
But then have a consensus too, if we want to do a trial period like what you said,
I also recommended Arlington, which is 7 miles down the road. Why wouldn't we offer that same proposal to them that they're open to when there's only 2 cities 7 miles apart versus going all the way to Gibbon?
sure.
honestly, it's not a bad idea to invite every city to this because it's the future. How cities want to break, you know, split resources or share things or share ideas. It is not a bad idea to reach out to all the cities, and whoever comes.
But even
And
to
if
take
anyone
that,
wants to be a part of those conversations, let me know. I will
But to take that a step further, when people look at buying a house, right, in a city, what are the priorities of that person that's going to buy the house? Emergency services is at the top of the list, right? Fire departments have to have a certain response period to get a better rating for your insurance, correct? Okay, if your police department, you don't have a police department, and they find out that you're consolidated with another city, that is something that's not desirable. The same with a school. That's why we put all this money into the school, to build the school here and to increase Sibley East, to make it more presentable for people to want to move here. If I move to a city, I don't want to know that I have to worry about my car getting broken into, that somebody's going to burglarize my house, that all the things that we take for value, that these, how do you think the businesses are going to feel when their numbers are drastically cut by these checks, or the apartment checks? When these guys are walking through the apartments 64 times in 1 month, you know what that does? That is cutting down crime. If we do not have control of a police department, we will not be able to give them those left and right limits, that these are the expectations.
So just to clarify, are you against consolidating? Because you just said we should talk to Arlington. You just said we could talk to the Sheriff's Department. So are you against consolidation altogether?
What I'm
Or
telling
are
you-
you against with them too? That, can we? clarify?
I'm against the consolidation,
Okay, so we shouldn't
100%.
even bother talking. We should just determine if we're gonna do this, or why involve the Sheriff's Department
No,
or Arlington?
then that's fine, I guess, if
I
that's
mean, I
where
just
we're at.
asked, because instead of spinning our tires, let's just,
Yeah,
you know, why
I'm-
would, you were
I'm
saying,
against
oh, we
the
should talk to
consolidation.
Arlington. Okay.
No, I'm saying if you're gonna talk to, you're gonna have, if the consensus, meaning I'm not obviously part of the majority of the group, if you're gonna go down this road with Winthrop and Gibbon, give Arlington a chance. That's all I'm saying. I'm not in favor of consolidation in any means when we have our own police department.
But realistically, so we still wouldn't have a charter change or anything, because you're obviously against it either way. So is what I'm saying, we should
Right.
quit wasting our time and not even bother them, because I know they just hired a new administrator and they have other stuff they're working on. Why even bother them with it then? Because you're gonna be against it either way, right?
Correct.
Exactly, so basically, we should make a decision on this, and if we're all gonna be opposed to this, we should just move forward with Gaylord's Police Department and move on to other projects. Obviously, I mean, Public Works Director, Public Works
Yes, sir.
Shop, a dam, all kinds of things.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying, is I just wanna be on the same
Yes, sir.
page, as you're against consolidation, period, so we should just leave Arlington and the Sheriff's Department of it, make a decision on this, and be done.
Absolutely. That's my opinion. That's where I stand on it. I don't know that I'm the only one, but, you know, that's why we have a council here.
That's where I just wanted to clarify, at least now, we kinda know where we're standing on it. Like I said, I don't wanna waste another town's time either, so. I think you know where me and Tony stand a little bit on it, so if you guys wanna
Yeah, I
talk for a
do.
while.
And I just want to remind everyone, Tony brought up a big point talking about the schools. And back in the day when the schools consolidated, there were very similar conversations to this. And I'm not saying consolidation is the way to go, but I think sharing resources isn't going to be a necessity for small towns like ours. So I want to keep the line of communication open. I don't think meeting with other cities does any harm. We might get new ideas that come out of that. So I'd like to move forward with that if the council's okay with that.
Well, help me out, because right now, I'm in 100% agreement with sharing resources. Don't think I'm against that, please. If we have a drone and nobody else has a drone, I have absolutely no problem. If we have a canine, then they don't, when I had a dog, my dog was going all over the county. I don't have a problem with
And
sharing
mutual
that.
aid, like sharing when we're
Absolutely.
short.
And what we're doing right now with Winthrop and helping each other out when one department's short or whatever, we've been doing that. I don't have a problem with that. The problem that I have is giving up control of the PD. I'm not
Yeah.
opposed to those other things, Layden.
Definitely sharing, I mean, that's the main goal of this, is sharing resources, sharing, I mean, whether it's personnel or equipment, so.
And like we said,
With-
Triline from the beginning has said, this is a concept. We don't have to I think we're beating a dead horse here because we're stuck with our charter according to our attorney. So we need to just move on.
But can we have a consensus to put at least a committee together, whether it's police department or anything, but that can work and talk about sharing resources, whether it's anything, also an opportunity to
think we
still have
should-
conversations on whether it's tri-line as proposed, or maybe a different theory, or a different, like I said,
And I
where we
think we
maintain
should
our own, but come up
Include
with
every
mutual aid
city in the
agreements.
county.
But I think instead of having come to a council every time, let a smaller group at least come up with some of the details, and then bring it back here, so that way, you know, hey, they got a K-9, come up with a mutual aid agreement where our guys can go back and forth a little bit. We have a drone,
100%.
yes.
I'm total agreement with that. And even get Arlington in the talks when they're short. How can we help them out? How can they help us out? That's great. That's resource sharing, and I'm all in favor of that. You just have to understand, I'm opposed to giving up our PD in control.
Got it.
I could be on board with that. Like I said, I mean, at least sharing, and Tony, I agree on this.
Yes.
We knew we'd get there.
I almost want to give you a hug
Okay,
right now.
okay. So tonight, there was no suggested motion based on all this conversation, is there now a suggested motion?
Do you want a motion or a consensus, just to do something like that, or I mean, what's?
I would say
I mean, at some point here, you have to give Winthrop and Given notice of what's going to happen or where we're at, so they can move on. And so that's, I think, the biggest thing. If you do it in a consensus or you do it in a motion, you know, in some respects, it comes down, you're basically going to all input on that, whether it's, you know, split vote or what.
I mean, ultimately, we're basically against this right now 100% based on charter. So at that point, again, whether the rest of us want to or not, this for sure is not happening come January 1st. So I don't know if I don't think it'd be fair to them to say table it, but at least basically make a motion in that sense. This is not a motion yet, but make a motion saying we are not going to move forward with this as proposed and just kind of move on. And why I say as proposed, I'm basically saying opening the conversation to just sharing resources
Yes.
and going that way.
Absolutely.
Because I don't want to shut the door and just say we're not working with you.
Correct.
Just we're not moving forward. But we'd like to do some sort of committee then probably after this motion gets made.
Would one of you like to make that motion then? Or any of the council members?
I think you kind of just did.
So, I just wanted to have a conversation first. So I'll make a motion not to move forward at this time with this as proposed, with Tri-Lane as proposed, or how would you like it, I guess? So,
Yeah, that's adequate.
okay, so not to move forward with this as proposed at this time.
I'll second it.
Motion by Rose, seconded by Padilla. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
But do we need a consensus then, or do you want a motion to?
Let's do a consensus, because we have to make sure other cities are on board.
Correct.
So I mean, just informally, an agreement that to reach out to other cities and to conclude Gibbon and Winthrop and have these conversations.
Okay, and then obviously to go towards sharing resources
Yes.
and
Yes, and
How we can
again,
work
if
together.
anyone wants to be on this committee, just send me an email or text. We don't have to decide tonight.
But if we reach out, it'll probably be end of September by the time we get something.
I'll start reaching out
Summary.
now, but maybe like focus on meeting once we get through our budget.
I'm in agreement.
Yep.
Okay, everyone in agreement?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Next, we're gonna move on to city engineer. Good evening, Justin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just by way of introduction for those watching on TV, my name is Justin Black, and I serve as the city engineer. There's two agenda items tonight related to city engineering. The first is the Public Works Building Project, and in front of the council tonight is the first application for payment. It's $9,500, and our architect Darren Johnson and his team have reviewed the application and are recommending payment to APX. I can give you an update on the project. There's been a lot of activity behind the scenes and improving shop drawings and ordering materials and getting things in line. The contractor did tell us today that they plan on breaking ground next week, so I thought that was great news. We'll start to see some action down there.
Awesome.
So with that, our recommendation is to approve the payment number one. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I'll make the recommendation to pay the $9,500 fee.
Second?
We have motion by Padilla, seconded by Eker. Any further question or discussions? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to 9H2, we have dirt pile removal project.
Yes, if anyone's been down in the 3rd Street and Shoreview Lane area in the past week or so, the scenery has changed dramatically. The neighborhood looks quite different with the stockpile gone. Steve and I did go out and make a site visit last week and took a look at things, and I know Steve did include the agreement in the council packet, and we were just kind of going through the checklist of what was done out there, and did it line up with the agreement. They stripped the topsoil off of the neighboring lots, and they placed fill material in there from that stockpile area. And they had enough material where they could actually go over east of the ditch and place some fill over in that area also. So they did accomplish that as part of the work. And then they put the topsoil back on those lots. They did stay out, we did stake that wetland area, so they stayed out of that wetland area. They worked around that. And then as far as the agreement talked about the elevation of their lot, or the final grading of their lot was to achieve a level lot. And if you go out and go up on the lot, the existing building and parking area and driveway way in the north end, they really matched into that, and then carried that grade or elevation further to the south to keep the lot level. So looking through the checklist on the agreement, they checked all the boxes there. You know, with any type of industrial park or commercial sites, depending on what type of business moves in, there'll always be some level of site grading. I think we saw that across the street on Shoreview, where they had to strip the topsoil off. They had to do some grading to accommodate the different building uses there. So I don't doubt that there'll be some level of grading. Obviously, they'll have to strip the topsoil back off when the city sells these lots. But they are checking the boxes in the agreement that was set forth. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
It's just exciting that it's finally done, and that there wasn't 38,000 truckloads of dirt or whatever it was that they were proposing was gonna take it all out.
It was a lot of dirt, and it's been something that I think collectively we as a group have talked about for some time. Even councils before this, during my history, have talked about this. So to get to this point and just see the noticeable difference out on site was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
You know how much topsoil was put back on there?
Yeah, they put back the same amount that was there, and they said it was 2.5 feet. So it was pretty thick.
And just to clarify, that was our original lot.
That's on the city's original lot,
So
that's
then,
correct.
as far as their lot, the current Frowning's lot, was there anything for black dirt put over there?
There was not, no. It's kind of a mixture. There's some mixture of some black dirt on that.
So would there have to be any stripping that happened? You know, if somebody would buy that and build a building there, is there any stripping you guys think would have to happen there, or what's that?
You know, it's hard to say. It depends on what type of building is built there, or, you know, if it's a parking lot or a building, or, like I said earlier, undoubtedly some level of grading might need to be done in that area. Without knowing what the property or what the project is, it's hard to know. If it's just a parking lot, they could maybe build up from there. If it's a big warehouse that covers a whole lot, I mean, it'd be important for that lot to be level so that you could build a building all at one level. If it's a parking lot, you could probably have some slope to it. It really depends on what's going to happen there.
Yeah, 'cause I guess my only question, if some of that black dirt actually got moved over there, that way you get grass and stuff. I mean, actually, that wasn't part of the agreement.
It wasn't part.
Just, I mean, moving, that's kind of the
Right.
sucky part about it is, it'd been nice to have like 6 inches across that.
Sure. It wasn't part of the agreement. I know that they did do some seeding out there, so we could maybe see how that grows, and see if something happens with that. I guess in the meantime, if the city moves forward with the transaction, maybe you can find someone that'll want to build on it in the near future.
As far as seeding, that was my next question. The whole thing got seeded? All 3 lots have been seeded, or
No, they seeded around the ditch, and then they seeded along Shoreview. So as far as moving forward, the city will either have to seed it on their own, or I think Steve had mentioned that you're looking to maybe lease the property again for cropland. So maybe there's something that can be negotiated with the new farmer that's renting the land as far as how much of it he feels he can crop. I guess that would be a question for the farmer if they think they can crop part of that other lot or not. I don't know.
And if we crop it out, if that's the route we go, they're able to farm over the wetland though, right? Or is that now untouchable, period?
From my understanding, it's
was
a
farmed
farmed
before.
it's a farmed wetland, so you can continue to have that use. That was my understanding. I guess maybe suggest.
I've
asked that question of soil and water, the county soil and water, and they said, yes, we could continue to farm it like we did before.
But if something gets built, then it can't be touched.
Correct.
That's correct, yep.
Clarification.
Yep, good questions here about kind of the whole process.
Well, it's all very exciting. So tonight, we just need consensus to approve the satisfactory completion of the dirt pile removal project and move forward with the transfer of Frowning's property to the city, and upon closing, payment for performance of the work completed per the agreement. So do we have a consensus?
Is it a motion or consensus?
Need a motion. I'd like a
Oh.
motion for that.
Council action, it says consensus.
Oh, sorry.
So we need a motion.
You could do a motion.
Change
You can do either or.
consensus to motion.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by I cannot say your name tonight, Padilla, seconded by Heeker. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
And could I just chime in here? As far as the future of the land, at this point, are you open to going out and farming it? Currently, our contract expires this year, so we'd be going out for bids anyway.
Either farming it or
Cause-
grass and hay bale it.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Make, if we plant
don't want it
grass
to
and
be a
hay
bunch
bale
of
it, then
weeds.
just let somebody bale it and then we can sell it and not have to worry
There's a
about
value there in farming it yet. We have for several years.
Are we gonna advertise them for sale right away, or what are we gonna do? Are we just gonna sit on them and be
They're
farmed?
for sale.
What,
They are for sale.
when does that negotiation usually happen with the farming, or when's that get RFP or whatever?
We can start anytime. Because right now, again, we're contract through this season.
Can we like advertise them a little heavier for a little bit here? I mean, to try and, I'd rather see them sold,
Yes.
I guess. Not to a farmer,
Right.
but to a SCH, or yeah, SCH could build a new office over there or something.
We have included in the past in our contract that the city has the right to pull the land if we have a buyer for them and then develop it. We've reserved that right.
Correct, so we'll move forward with the farming, but I think we try to really heavily advertise
Yes.
it between now and the planting season next year, because if hopefully we can get a buyer over the winter or spring, that way the farmer don't have to worry about planting it and then ripping it up again. You know, so that's why I move forward with farming it, but I would like to really see it advertised the next 6 months, whether it's Facebook or we put a hub, ad in the hub, or just city website, put it right on the front page or something. Again, not that we can rip up crops, but it'd be nice just to get it done, you know, if somebody's interested.
You know, maybe even a sign out there, a big, like where Primo's was, they used to have that, just showing what the lots are and the layout.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yep.
We gotta make it 20 foot tall, so it's higher than the trucks.
But that way, somebody drives out there, they kind of see the layout of all the lots and what size they are and things like that.
In the east lot, we would not be looking to sell at this point because we don't have any services out there. We don't have the road that goes out, we don't have no accessibility to it except through the lot on the west side of the ditch. So it'd just be Frowndace's lot and then our lot immediately to the east of where the dirt pile was.
Yeah, the 3.
So those two would be, they're buildable, right?
Yes. I mean, advertise all 3, but push for those 2 first. I mean, if somebody comes in to build a big warehouse and all 3, well,
Yeah.
they're all there. I'd like to see all the acreage be advertised, but if somebody would come in the office, obviously that'd be something you'd have to push them towards those other 2 at first.
Yeah.
What's the time frame on that east one? I mean, if somebody is interested, are we saying, no, we don't have service out there, you can't have it, or what? I mean, if they want to buy it, is it something that we're looking at getting service out there then, or what is?
They could always pay for it.
Yeah.
Somebody buying a
Part of it.
parcel
Well,
could
that's
pay
what
for
I'm
it.
asking is,
Do it as part of a
What-
development agreement.
It is on our capital improvement plan. We haven't designated, where or when we're gonna do it. It's probably be built in with a bigger project. But we've got it identified.
but just so they know that if they buy that lot, they can buy it, but there's no services out there, it might be
Right.
X number of
We-
years before the
yeah,
city
we
gets
obviously
one.
disclose
Okay.
all that.
Or they can, are you saying they have the opportunity, they can pay for those services?
Yeah, I mean, there's always the opportunity to pay for services. Obviously, it narrows the pool of potential buyers if it's somebody that, really wants that parcel. So they're gonna spend X amount of dollars more to put the infrastructure in. So,
Cross that bridge when we get there.
yeah, I mean, a different type of buyer than somebody that's saying, okay, we'll build something here, but we need all the utilities to be at the doorstep.
Do we have to put a cover crop on that?
You'll have-
Or is the silt fence there fine for the rest of the year?
You'll have to do something ultimately.
But I mean, if it's farm next spring, though? I
If
mean,
it's farm next spring,
Are we probably
my
fine for
understanding
this
is it's back to agricultural use, so that you'd be in a position there where you could say you're returning it to the same use.
I'm saying for like this year, though. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the year, but do we have to put a cover crop on this year?
I don't
Or are we
believe
able
so.
just to leave it with the plan to possibly farm it next year?
As long as your intention is to farm it.
I
That
mean,
was a
I just don't
lengthy
want to see the-
discussion. Did we vote?
Yes.
we could
Yes.
vote.
Okay, good.
Um,
Sometimes when there's long discussions, I lose my place. Like, did we vote on that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
This was just what's, what
This
is
is-
the land.
Yeah.
Anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay, then we're gonna move to new business, 11B, registered land survey number 35.
These next three items on the agenda, they run together. Alan Bartles is here this evening, as you can see. He's approached the city with a proposal to add another solar garden on his property, which is located southeast of town. It abuts Highway 19 and 5 and Michael Foods. First step here is, this is all items that have gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission too. He is proposing to subdivide his property out there. Currently, it's just one parcel. He'd like to subdivide it into multiple parcels. The property itself is a Torrance property. It's not abstract, it's Torrance. Maybe Mark can explain it a little better than I can as far as the difference, but there's a procedure, a court procedure. It has to go through district court to be identified as Torrance. You don't have a big abstract that basically identifies all the transactions as far as the property changing hands over the years. Torrance is a legal document that basically states that the property is free and clear of any encumbrances or liens. There's more to it.
I mean, that's partly right. It's basically just a different way of creating a chain of title, like a property history. So with an abstract title, you get an abstract. It's a stack of papers this big. You go back and you look through all the different conveyances. Torrens is basically the process that you apply to the district court. They look at all the different real estate interests, which you have to identify. And then when you get out of the registration proceeding, you have a piece of paper that tells you all the interests. And so as it relates to this, it doesn't really matter that much other than that this has to be a registered land survey instead of a plat or a separate boundary survey. You know, that's pretty much it. So this is going to split the land up into different parcels, which I guess in succession needs to happen first before you get to the other components of this. But I wouldn't let the Torrance thing become too much of a distraction. Fundamentally, it's a decision like, does this conform with the ordinance, and then do we want to rezone it and amend the comp plan?
So as Mark pointed out, because it's a Torrance property, he has to choose, or the only way he can subdivide it is to do a registered land survey. So on page 145 and 146 is the proposed registered land survey, number 35.
Because basically you want to break off the into, right now it's one parcel, you want to break it into three. So I'm guessing based on the picture, the existing solar farm is one parcel, and then you're basically cutting off where the site would be A. Just to clarify that's what you're doing, right?
Okay, so tonight we're looking for a motion to approve registered land survey number 35.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Rose, seconded by Kufal. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we're moving on to 11C, Resolution 2026-20, a resolution amending the 2040 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map.
As I mentioned, he is looking to develop another solar garden on his property. As you may recall, solar gardens are only permitted in our A1 district, our agricultural residence district. Currently, the property is zoned I2, which is heavy industrial. And so what he is proposing to do is just to rezone Track B of the registered land survey, which would be basically the south portion of that. Currently, in Track C, if you're looking at the registered land survey itself, is where he currently has a solar garden that was approved a couple years ago by the city. So he's looking to not develop necessarily all of Track B as a solar garden, but probably like a similar section or similar size to Track C. The rest of the property plans to continue to use as he is right now, which is cropland. So basically, that's what he's looking to do. But looking at also, we have to take into consideration our comprehensive plan. And so we have to look at the future land use map within the comp plan. And it basically guides this property to industrial use. And so we basically have to make sure that our comp plan, the future land use map, lines up with our zoning as well. And so that in our comp plan, the closest classification to our zoning is called rural reserve. And I put a definition in here in the action sheet of what that is, but basically it's rural residential and agricultural uses not served by city infrastructure and resources, and also not likely to develop within the lifespan of the plan, meaning the comp plan. Our comp plan is a 2040 plan. That's what they refer to it as. So basically, we're planning out to 2040. So basically, at this point in time, given the proximity of the land, we would basically be agreeing that this property is likely not going to be developed for an industrial use between now and 2040. If we were to rezone, change that classification on the future land use map to rural reserve. So that's what's proposed. So that's the first step. We have to do that before we would consider his rezoning application, because again, they both have to match up. So if you're not willing to change the future land use map, we can't approve the rezoning. So in your packet, we do have a resolution here on page 148. On the very bottom of that resolution on page 1, basically is the two conditions. Basically, the registered lands, one of them states here, registered land survey number 35, track B, shall be guided toward rural reserve use. And then secondly, the above resolution is contingent upon the approval of the rezoning of this track B from I-2 to A1. So basically you have to, this becomes null and void if you don't approve the rezoning of that track B, which is the next item. So I'm open to any questions at this point. I don't know, it's a lot of information, so it can be a little confusing too.
Very confusing. I'm hoping that you guys all have a
Do
strong
you-
grasp.
It went through planning and zoning.
Yeah, we had a
last-
lengthy discussion on it
Yeah.
last week, and it makes sense what he's trying to do.
Sure.
Yep. And
Yeah.
it was approved by
Yeah.
P&Z.
And this might be a point to bring this up, because you, as a council, have asked this question. How many more solar gardens do you want to permit? And actually, the planning and zoning had the same question. And they too would like to take a look at that, maybe setting up some kind of conditions or parameters that possibly could limit the number of solar gardens, because we do have quite a few. One of the reasons that they were open to this one is the location.
Right.
It's south of the one that's there. It's fairly off the highway. It's not as noticeable. It's difficult to view unless you're looking directly over there as you're going by.
And it directly supports a business and
Michael
an
Foods.
Right.
industry. I mean, the power goes to Michael Foods.
Yep.
So-
And Alan, this is where he probably can attest to all this. This is his information, but maybe you want to talk about your relationship with Michael Foods as far as the solar gardens? I have to apologize, I forgot my hearing aids. Oh, could you come up to the podium, maybe? What I've asked, could you share your relationship with Michael Foods and how the solar gardens work with that?
Yes, okay, sure. Well, first of all, my relationship, or our relationship, goes back perhaps as long as 40 years. When we've been a part of what they've done for many, many years in many different aspects out there. we own the property that's next to them, and we developed that, because they were short of room. And we entered into an agreement where this property is to build a drop lot in there for them. So we've done that for a number of years. The idea of the solar guard came about mostly when Post Cereals bought Michael Foods. They have an initiative that they wanted to be a part of the green theme, and they approached us as far as putting up and this is a 6.6 acre project, and it's getting ready to go online now. But with that, they more or less wanted me to not assure them, but the point is that they wanted to at some point perhaps expand. They're landlocked in there pretty well, so the idea was that if they ever did decide to do that, that there would be some additional property there for them to do that. So that's really the kind of the way it is right now. The idea is, we've been great partners with them. We want to continue to do that. I'm not sure, and I can keep you informed of that exactly, now. And the whole thing is that this 6.6 acres, they did a study, and it roughly represented about 11% to 12% of their total power usage. So it's very little, but it is a cost savings to them, and they recognize it. So, developing it further, it would be more of a savings to them in the future. So I think that is really, it's two things. It's one of them is having participated in, cleaner power, and then also to, to have some savings. I'm sure that's the biggest part of it right there. So, are there any questions? Sorry.
So the tract A, the very northern end where like the farm site is and the trailers are now, that you're leaving.
Track A.
So
Track A, what are you gonna do with track A?
So track A.
basically, are there any plans for that? I mean, obviously that's not being requested to
We're
change.
gonna leave track A. We just wanna leave that. One of the things that I'm trying to do also is that I've got a great relationship with my renters, and I want to keep it that way. And they run bigger equipment, so when they come into the fields, I'm trying to square it up. Trying to get it so that it's a little easier to work and to turn and stuff like that for them too. So there's so many pieces out there. There's a house, there's a building site, there's we're next to them out there, but there's so many. There isn't a great deal of property in one spot. So.
And then as far as a phase two, I'm assuming you'll just match the solar that's there for a phase two? Yeah, to add more solar panels, right? And so you're looking at rezoning all that, but I'm just.
What we'd like to do is to go straight down.
Similar size land area?
Yes.
Similar size land area? Straight south of track C.
Yeah. So it's not like that whole area is gonna become solar.
I'm sorry again.
This area here,
Yeah.
is where it wants to come down, this would be the solar. Yep,
But it would match that size.
he's rezoning that whole thing, right?
Correct.
But another
But
solar
the
garden
solar
would
garden
probably
would
be
just
about
match.
the same. Yep,
So it's not like we're looking at
right.
a 30-acre solar.
I believe, maybe to
Um,
address that, there are some limitations on the size of solar gardens now under state law.
Correct, so that would basically, even though the whole thing would be rezoned, it's just gonna probably mimic what's there.
Correct.
But the whole property is gonna be
That
rezoned.
track B would be rezoned, yes.
Is there a financial benefit to the city as far as tax base that comes from, just out of curiosity, from solar gardens?
I think I don't know if we get, if there's much difference between ag land and solar gardens. I can't answer that.
So I mean, realistically, the city itself, outside of Michael Foods maybe investing more, doesn't necessarily benefit the city much. And I'm just asking as a general question for any solar garden.
May add a little more value. I can't speculate, though.
So.
Okay, anything, other questions? We're looking for a motion to approve resolution number 2026-21, a resolution approving the rezoning of Tract B, registered land survey number 35.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from Kufal. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. Any further discussion or comments?
Can we work towards some sort of, as far as limiting? I mean,
Yeah,
or come up with an agreement where if, you know, upon approving it, you know, I don't know, there's, I don't know,
Right, I
permit
think-
fee, or if there's a, you know, I don't know how to go about that, but.
Permit fee for.
Well, as far as, you know, for more solar gardens when they come,
Oh, if you're open to that, the planning and zoning can work on that and try to
Yes.
come up with something.
like I said, whether there's just a fee to it, or if there's a actual limitation, or
I guess I'll have to
whatever, or,
research it. I'll just have to
Yeah.
research it and see if I can. Pardon me, Don, what was the motion that was made there?
I think it was
2021 to approve it.
oh, did I make the, wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
it's
sorry.
the other one.
11C, we need a motion for resolution 2026-20.
Whether we made a motion, it's the wrong one.
I made the motion, I'll rescind the motion.
And then whoever seconded it, do the same.
Yep. Same.
Did they vote on that?
No,
we did not vote.
we did not vote on it.
No, I meant, do they have to vote on the rescind?
We voted on the motion?
No.
No.
Okay, perfect.
But you need a motion for 2026-20,
Yes.
and I will make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion from Kufal, seconded by Groko. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we're moving to 11D, Resolution 2026-21, rezoning Tract B of Registered Land Survey 35. Anything additional, or do we just,
I'll make that motion to approve.
Second.
we have a motion from Padilla, seconded by Kufal. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Before we get a motion to adjourn, something that can we put on our radar
We could.
is,
I want to thank everybody. Sorry about this.
that's okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You lose your hearing. Anyway, thank you very much.
I got one thing too. when you're
Thank
done.
you. I just want to put it on our radar before next summer, to update our park cameras, just with the amount of vandalism that's happening down at the park, to really look at getting better quality cameras, maybe cameras that the police can, you know, look at any time, motion activated, live streaming, whatever. I think those, they'd pay for themselves in a couple years, so I think it's worth looking into.
I was just gonna throw out there too, this is not related. There's a grant that's due here at the end of August for, basically assistance to help with removal of ash trees as well as replacement of trees. It's due August 31st. I guess I'd like to see the city go and try and get that. I don't know if this is accurate, but I've heard supposedly Arlington gets like 30 grand a year when they apply for this grant. I don't know if that's accurate, that's just what I was told. Like I said, I'd like to see the city apply for that. I know we have a number of ash trees, and with ash borer coming, I guess I'd like to see us get some new ones planted too. So I don't know if that'd be Steve's project or one of the other guys, but that's, like I said, it's due August 31st, so. I can forward you a link if you want.
Sure.
Or, I mean, unless somebody wants not to do that.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, we should do it.
It's a lot of money.
And like I said, I don't know if that's for sure, somebody told me that, and it's somebody who does a lot of work with Arlington,
Yeah.
so I
Well-
think it's semi-accurate. I mean, even if we get 5,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That's
whether it
still
is or
10
isn't, any
trees.
money still helps.
And I know the state's pushing with the ash borer, so I mean, if there's money out there, I'd like to at least take a shot at it. So, that's all I got.
And actually, I kind of was thinking, I know when we discussed the raise for the fire chief and stuff, I actually would like to give that position an extra $500 before the next budget too. If you could put that in there, if I can make a motion for that, or do I have to wait till the next meeting, or?
So you want to increase the chief's wage by $500? We will, are you talking about that for this year yet or next year?
I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Because we
Whatever
will,
Maybe just
they do the appointments of officers every year, that's in
Yeah.
their,
So for next year, then,
okay.
just
Just
so it gets in the,
consideration,
for the budget, for consideration for the budget,
include it.
yeah.
I mean, is everybody okay with that?
Do you want a motion? Can I make a motion for that? or-
If it's a consensus for now, because later on it'll be a motion, you're just asking me to include that in the budget,
Correct, yes.
okay? All right,
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn from Eker. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Groko. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.